Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie, przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami, a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy i musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.
Witamy wszystkich na 436 warsztatach poszukiwaczy wiedzy w języku polskim, niedzielę 31 stycznia 2021 roku, a tematem jest kontynuacja tłumaczenia 364 warsztatu poszukiwaczy wiedzy i czas przetłumaczony na dzisiaj to jest od godziny 59 do 2 godzin 4, od 2:28 do 2:35, od 2:41 do 3:08, od 3:14 do 3:36, od 3:39 do 3:50 i kawałek ostatni od 3:56 do 3:58. Po warsztacie zapraszam do rozmów, zadawania pytań, na które postaramy się odpowiedzieć. Niekoniecznie z tego wykładu, mogą to być wcześniejszych warsztatów. W fragmentach dwóch mogą wystąpić zapytajniki takie, na które nie zdołaliśmy odpowiednio przetłumaczyć tego ze względu na to, bo nie zdążyliśmy jeszcze tego zrobić, bo ktoś po prostu nie miał czasu na to zbytnio, ale w czwartek to postaramy się poprawić. A na dzisiaj mamy tak jak jest, tak więc oglądamy, słuchamy. Zaczynamy.
We have, first of all, Salome had a question before you even mentioned the unit, but it does apply to the unit. She was asking in the Q&A, what is the link between climate change and the change of magnetical poles from time to time? And if we stop polluting the planet, can we reverse this process?
In a way, we don't reverse it. We introduce a new condition that it can bring changes which the planet agrees with. If we go for a climate change and trying to change it back to what it was a century ago, before industrialization changes which we have seen, will bring more harm to humanity than before. Because not only we are born into the new cycle, our fathers, if we are in our early ages, and our grandfathers have been through the same and part of the industrial revolution, and their body has adjusted and they've gone through the evolution. And if we're trying to change back, this sounds fantastic, but can bring calamities to mankind, because we absorb different kind of energies according to the way the atmospheric pressure and temperature and the air fields which we have absorbed over our lifetime. The prime example of this is we were discussing this very recently with the knowledge seekers. For example, we see ladies smoke cigarette. They breathe the smoke of a cigarette to keep asleep. This is very traditional in countries like Greece, and a lot of women believe in it, and they smoke primarily to keep asleep. And that has a reason, so psychologically and physically, we use more energies because they clock up the lung and all sorts of things. But the minute they stop using or smoking, they start putting weight on. We've seen this is a very traditional. So the change of environment of the air in the lung brings the physical changes in a rapid way. Mankind will be in the same position. If we suddenly change the atmosphere or try to bring rapid changes into the condition which we had before Industrial Revolution, we will run into huge problems, new diseases, new cancers, new everything. So it's not the reversal of evolution, it's finding a new way to evolve to. And we've seen with evolutionary systems, we always lead with bigger problems. And at the same time, we see these people run into breathing problems, into lung problems and everything else. So in a way, by changing into plasma technology and evolution of the fields, we partially accommodate the two together, where the field strength will still cross the boundaries of the lung, but at the same time, we allow the process, the body to take new understanding of its structure. And this process is the same. We cannot bring climate changes. Magnetic field changes in the planet is a normal thing, it happens. And one of the beautiful way that we show that our body is made of gases and not solid elements because it's in the plasma condition, is the change of polarity of the planet Earth. Every so many thousands of years, the polarity changes, but we don't feel it because our cells themselves are in the plasmatic and they change polarity, but the operation stays the same. Because as a total, we change and respond to. And so what was the fear of whatever, because we couldn't understand what a polarity will do or whatever it's been doing, is very simple. We evolve with it, we change with it, and we go through it. The sun does it every 11.5 years, every 23 years it goes back its right position. So there should be no worries on that one. And what we call environmental changes has to be according to what it is in the position of what as a whole, as a human race, we can handle. Any rapid changes will bring its own consequences and sequence of changes for all of us. It's good to go back to be, but we have to introduce a proper alternative through new technologies. My technology to be accepted. But even then they don't let you go. It's not the government, it's a structure of collective people who government put in position of trust. And this is what the problem is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. My second question is about the air enhancement or the negative energy, oxygen that you talked about with a system that you add to the paint in a wall. Could you please explain the negative energy and how it works?
This you can read. There's a lot of literature on it. It changes a lot of environments. Now we use the technology of the plasma technology to deliver this through the knowledge of the plasma, where it changes a lot of things. It changes behavior, it changes emotion, it changes air environment characteristics, and it's all well documented. You can go on the internet and read about negative oxygen. And it is well now sought after technology, and it cannot be used on its own. It has to be used in a specific way, which we have developed to be able to use it as a purification and enhancing. And we done this, we tested this in Beijing for some times, and we have seen its effects and its operation. And we understand how it works now. We are commercially producing it to be done for this purpose. But the beauty of it is, with the new technology, new system, we enhance the soul, the emotion which affects the soul, that will find peaceful people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think that answered Mark's question of what does negative oxygen mean. So I think that would be the same as what they call ionized
No,
oxygen.
it's a different,
Ionized.
totally, it's totally
Okay.
different. Negative oxygen is totally different. One of the ways that the Chinese are using it is in a high altitude in Nepal, where the soldiers are not used to, and they go through huge changes. And with the thinner oxygen level, they're using this in bringing balance to, more or less emotionally, you bring the balance into it, and then the body adopts into it. It's a psychosomatic, but now it's plasmatic psychosomatic, which means through enhancement of the psychology, we enhance the body. It's one of the new ways of working through the soul to elevate the physicality, to stand the position and direction. And it's measurable.
So, okay, it's negative oxygen must be different than negative air ions then. It's a different,
in a way, yes,
thing.
but when we call it negative oxygen is with soul, with understanding and promotion of the soul. Is built, these systems are built that way.
Okay. We have, let me see here. James had a question about that you said in the 117th Knowledge Seekers workshop, you mentioned that soul should absorb what you need. Through the eons, I've not done this correctly. Please expand on what I or we need to do.
Repeat the question, please.
In the 117th Knowledge Seekers workshop, you mentioned this, that soul should absorb what you need. Through the eons, through the years, I have not done this correctly. Please expand on what I or we need to do to absorb what you need.
We have to become more conscious of how we receive, not target to receive. If we target to receive, we never find out. Becoming conscious of how to receive it allows us to think, and to receive that allows us to elevate our souls. You cannot shop for it, you cannot buy it, you have to become aware of it, servitude, and being able to deliver such a thing. To your soul, from the environment you live in. In a way, a lot of you go for the zinc and for copper and for making ganses. How many of you have gone to sub-levels of atomic structure to be able to reach that? As a nuclear physicist, I know where to look for it, and I know where to get it. And I know how to achieve it for elevation of the soul. You work in the dimension of physicality of the man, and I work in the dimension of the creation. You have to have big palaces, you have to have big cars, you have to have everything maximum. I work into the servitude of the soul of the creator, which to be as low as possible, to receive, to be humble. And I explained this very recently. If mankind realizes one day the knowledge I carry from all aspects of knowledge of the creation, it should make me an arrogant man. But the more I teach, the more humble I become. Then this should be an example for most of the knowledge seekers. Then you receive. When you share, we don't hold knowledge. We don't hold back to teach when it's the appropriate and the right time for it. And we don't choose the time and the place. We feel the emotion of the soul. It's the same. In the past week, the Italian community has risen to make sure they have enhancement units in Italy. And they start contributing tens of thousands into the foundation to make sure the first enhancement unit in each house operate has seen it, and we follow the way they set up. They know what they're doing. Go to the shop, to the store, and place your order directly, and it'll be handled. You can still make donations, say, I'll make donation, I want this system to be delivered to such and such a place. It'll be done. And at the moment, Italian unit has been predetermined where to be by the people who made the large donations. And as they are doctors and themselves as a doctor, it makes it easy for us that she can use it according to his environment. As I said before, Keshe Foundation is looking for medical doctors with medical certification to recruit for the new enhancement unit. We don't want osteopaths or physiotherapists or alternative medicine. We need certified medical doctors that they carry a license that they can prescribe to reduce or increase medication. This is the reason. We will need chiropractors and osteopaths to support in the people who might need the support physically, but essentially we should not see much problem, because there is a beautiful thing which we have seen over decades now. People with the paralysis, paraplegic, whatever, which have had this problem with them for years, if you go, for example, through a normal system, they need a lot of physiotherapy to move. Because when you repair physically, they need all these physiotherapy sessions to do a lot of things to bring them back. With the plasma technology, because we elevate the soul of the cell through the process, even as much as the soul of the man just walks. It has puzzled many, many physiotherapists that there is such a big difference. People who use the plasma technology with all sorts of physical problems they had for years, it takes months of training, pulling and pushing and all sorts to get them walking. With the gas plasma technology, they just walk. Because it's the soul which walks and the physicality follows. This is one of the beauties I've seen many, many times. People in bed for 5 years with most of the brain has been removed because of tumor. They walk and they say, I can't remember walking. We have to show them the videos where body has never moved. The doctors and just are left in a position. But you see it, they just get up and they walk. We've seen it with Naomi. 1 year in bed, she can walk. And this is, then you have blockages and the others, which is physical damages, which has to be repaired. This is one of the beauties with this. And so we don't need that kind, we need doctors, certified medical doctors who can change, who can bring new prescription, advise the patients in how to use the ganses and everything else. It's a new generation of science and technology and medicine. It's the first time the doctors have the capability to change the soul of their patients, which changes their physicality much faster. This is what we saw with pandemic in Iran, how rapidly the patients in the hospitals are recovering and people, and we explained to the doctors that we explained before. At the moment you try to kill the bacteria or the virus, and then the body has to dispose of it. The new technology uses the energy of the virus to become food to the patient. In a way, what was killing you now is feeding you. And this is the evolution in science. So we need doctors who understand this and can implement it and bring new insight. If you're a doctor, medical doctor, join us. Go into the medical section of science. People who write in as alternative doctors, physiotherapist or whatever degrees they have, we respect you. We need to train you to be able to understand your way of operation with your patients. The Keshe Foundation in the next week, 2 weeks, will introduce a new, absolutely new technology in the world of medicine. My understanding and instruction to the Keshe Foundation team has been, we don't go to develop, partially we will develop new technologies. We take the present technologies, we add the knowledge of the plasma and technology into it. You've seen it with the fan. We take the fan, it's there, we add our technology into it, and it changes the environment. We will introduce in the next few, maybe next week or next 2 weeks, a new patch, specifically for the pain and inflammation. What does this do? And it's very simple. You put a patch, and the energy of the inflammation will transfer into it. It'll be called inflammation and pain patch. And you will see the result. Within hours, pains which has been there for years just alleviate. And this will be a new technology which is added to and is part of the new cycle of the changes we bring in. This is what I said, and it's got to be understood by knowledge seekers. The new technologies we bring is added on, is based on what mankind has already achieved, and we add to it. This is not a breakthrough, everything new. Is man understanding more and adding more on to what is achieved. The new, what we call patches, will come in. The next few days, next few weeks, Keshe Foundation will release the telephone field patch. You most probably, some of you place order, we might receive the first one free, where you just place it on the back of your mobile phone to divert the fields. And it's part of what we do. You can put on your all mobile phones. We use it on our computers. It makes it safer. The same thing is, we will soon most probably introduce a system which will, in a way, alleviate the side effects of G5. G5, if it's used for what is purpose, is the achievement. But if it has created, which we know has created through its high frequency other problems, you can alleviate it. You can take the best of it. The same as with the chemotherapy. We developed a technology to reduce or alleviate the what you call the side effect of it. But we elevate the power of it to destroy the cancer, but we alleviate the part where it's got a side effect. This is not to be anti everything, is incorporating is the new way for humanity to live. G5 has many advantages for communication, even though the next steps of it, G7, G9, will not even use the human frequency. The development in the Keshe Foundation allows us to deliver technology with a heartbeat. The way you fall in love, I can teach you. The technology is already complete. For the first time, it will be used in the enhancement units which are delivered. These are not talks because we see the heartbeat. We see how it changes. We see how people emotion can affect it. The people who attend the Vienna conference, they've seen it for the first time over a year ago. Now it's evolved into a completion that we can do it in a very fundamental way, that we can create a heartbeat as the way you fall in love. You can fall in love with a machine while you are in it and you don't know why you love the machine. because it matches your heartbeat. And then with it, it gives you what you need to give to your soul, that your soul elevates to feed your physicality, the way you were created. The time for change has come, and it comes in a fundamental way, the right time for humanity to evolve.
Mr. Keshe, hi, it's Dean here. Can I quickly ask you a question regarding the new air filtration unit? The different positions on the planet where this this device will be located. Obviously, you get different field strength from a nation to nation, from different places on the environments. So how will it affect the emotion and balance entities in different locations? Will it touch different parts?
It has been built to interact with the emotion of the man on the level of RNA. We know what we are doing because we incorporate with it a specific part of the knowledge. It's something which I've taught, but as knowledge seekers, you don't understand it. But as a teacher and as a scientist, we understand it, we incorporate it. Does not matter where you can be on planet Zeus, you can still use the system. And we can adjust it to fit certain conditions and parameters. It's we are running a very large scale test with 100 individuals, and we have seen, and the authorities have observed, have seen how effectively this technology works on the soul and then on the physicality of the subjects. I cannot release much information on this, but this trial has been going now, it's in 7-8 months, and we have seen huge gains understanding the process of evolution in the soul of the man. And all came because of the corona. We entered, and knowledge seekers took a step trying to help, and it brought the creation of the position that now we have a very good large scale test, and it's extremely what I call pleasurable to see you can do such a thing with such a simple way, change the life of 100 souls in an extremely positive way.
So, Mr. Keshe, do those fields, they reach out to the plants and animals, you say souls, so all souls
Yes.
in creation, yeah?
You can develop the system technology which fits the soul of the in captivity animals, where they feel comfortable. Most of the animals kept in the zoos are not comfortable. They are there because we engage them. The soul is not having. We see most of all kind of diseases there. These technology used in their environment, it brings the peace to the soul and peace to physicality. We don't expect to see much physical, illnesses once the technology is extensively used. That it just balances. You got to understand the beauty of this technology. Your body only takes from it what it needs, and when it needs it. When is the disbalance in certain position of the life?
Many people, Mr. Keshe, have imbalances. Many entities have imbalances through environmental and conditions, emotional conditions, from all sorts of influences. So these fields will interact in many different ways across the whole of the planet, helping many entities to, as you say, find balance, to be at peace with themselves, and to bring back just beauty back into their existence.
That is the right of every soul. Consciousness.
The soul needs knows this, and the physicality, as you say, with the magnets, needs to understand its position and adjust.
Yeah. You say, I just walked in and accidentally I did this, or accidentally I saw that, and it happened to be there. Ask, why did my soul bring me here? What am I supposed to learn from it? What have I done to be in this position? It's what I just explained in the first part. Why has a technology which has been more or less in exile finds its way in Linz, where the center of all the horrible things we've seen started with one man, to bring balance, to bring correctness into the conduct and the change. And
So
we
the
find
soul
beautiful
sees
people. Pardon?
Sorry, Mr. I didn't mean to interrupt. So the souls, you say there's one soul, there's one man. So, but this man needs to, his soul is still present in its new dimension.
Of course.
And so he has to bring that balance back through his soul into humanity.
In a way, collective soul of the man has its own balance. Look at it, you're in Linz, you're in Austria now, you've been brought here by your soul to do what you're doing. And look at the soul of the beautiful Austrians who are literally putting their heart and life into development of the technology. Do you see anyone outside in a way? No. It's done collectively by the same people who collectively, through the wrong leadership, brought so much misery, and through the right direction leadership are bringing peace to humanity. When you look at the lab in Austria, who are leading the research, all Austrians. We don't have anybody from outside. All Austrians, in a way we are not putting the wrong of the past right. In a way we're bringing balance that the souls find peace, that mankind can elevate to the next level.
There are many beautiful souls that in Linz, Mr. Keshe. I know this, and you say I've interacted with these beautiful souls, and I know they're here present and giving unconditionally to bring this balance back to humanity. And Linz, as you said, my soul was drawn to Linz. I can't explain it other than a soul level, that you cannot explain it in the physicality.
I think it's not only that, it's our soul and our heart goes with it. This is what we have to understand. And with it, will bring the other people, the other souls who are of the same level to work. We see it in all directions. We see what is happening with Chinese Keshe Foundation. Now Mexico is back online to go. We've seen Alex back in Nigeria recuperating what happened in Ghana, with the deception of, again, those who were all the time behind it. It doesn't stop. You got to realize a nation which carries the pain of the soul will never stop damaging. Even the reason I had to stop the telephone call is again damaged by the Belgians. They try to damage non-stop. But it doesn't work because we correctly conduct our ways. The Belgians never stop damaging the foundation. We just seen it past 10 minutes. Because they work through the misconduct of the souls and physicality. And one day we hope to elevate their souls. It's understanding that the elevation is needed, not the punishment. And these lost souls, one day somewhere they find a balance. We have never seen so much lying and cheating that has come out of that, and it doesn't stop. With the cheat, lies, deception, murder, this nation has come. The whole of the human race has to pray for this nation to elevate their soul. The abusive children become abusive themselves. And they see it as a right. And this is what we got to do. We got to elevate the soul. When I walk, when I work in the lab in Linz, it's beautiful. You just want to work because the soul of the people around us is nothing but beauty. Doesn't matter whatever they're there. They're there with the soul. They were there to elevate the soul of the man. And this is how it works. Many times I walk into the lab in Linz. You walk through it and your soul changes. You just want to share, you want to develop, and it's the same. Leaving the doors open, nobody will go home. They'll sleep in there, developing day and night.
I know
and
that.
we see it. Pardon?
I know that feeling, Mr. Keshe. Once you start with plasma, it involves your very soul, your physicality, and it leads you into a new position of just wanting to give and serve and just help others, to elevate other souls, to bring them to a position that is universal knowledge, that is just of everybody being equal, the same, having the same wonderful intentions and feelings within inside themselves, that then just pass on that I can't think of a better word than light, but just passing on that plasma.
It is the way we are evolving. We had the evolution of physicality. Now we are in the evolution of the soul with a new understanding, new technology, and new way. This is what I said before. The scientists are the messengers of God. With it, they bring systems and technologies which elevates the soul of the man, brings the freedom to man. Some get abused, but in general, if you look at it, what the scientists have brought, the religions bring the light for the soul of the man to guide him. Scientists like beautiful Tesla bring the light for the physicality of man to be guided from darkness.
Yeah, I think it's time, Mr. Keshe, that the scientists are allowed to, with your technology, bring this beauty forward so that humanity can experience this and have this, because it's been there for a long time. And it would be wonderful to have these technologies here to use them, and to experience them now in these moments.
It's not my technology, it's the knowledge of the Creator. We're just the tools and messengers to deliver. And this is the beauty of it. Knowing of one's position, being aware of it. And this is the cycle where, as I said, the science meets the soul of the man. In a way, it's not a meeting, it's bringing interaction and understanding that the two can work together.
They join, Mr. Keshe. They definitely. I know we want to elevate the soul of the man and lead to new positions, but the physicality on this planet, we have a physical body. It exists, and we interact with how we know, with what we know. But the elevation of the soul with all these beautiful technologies you're bringing forward, and these field strengths that I can feel, and I know many people around feel it. There's a big change in the atmosphere, in the fields of humanity, and further on than that, much bigger than that. I can feel.
I think the change, in a way, has been set as of the speech we heard yesterday and the day before from the world leader in his inauguration, and the day before when he made respect, who paid his respect to 400,000 people dead to Corona. We, as I said, it is amazing, because this is what I pondered for many years dealing with the Obama administration, that a vice president is as powerful as the president. And we've never seen so much killing and so much invasions and murders and wars than the time of Obama. And as vice president, Biden was sitting there. He was part of it. And now he speaks about peace and knowledge because he lost his son. He understood the pain of the loss. He understood this, the loss of his son, even with the cancer, touched his soul. He understood what is done to the man who he dropped the bomb on in Libya or in wherever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have a race, color, and gender. Pain of a loss is there with it, and he felt it, and it's changed the man. Hopefully, it's changed the man. And he what we will see through this new administration is that way of work of peace. But you have to understand, he's got the second in command, a woman which is extreme far left communist, and he sees as sharing everything to bring equality. And we've seen it yesterday in the first 17 orders, presidential orders, decrees, what is coming and what is to come. We start seeing, and because it's the way the administration will work, will bring other nations to it. And the technology and the soul of the knowledge which has grown into the soul of the man through the new science will bring that change. We wish that now we have a man, hopefully, who can implement it, and we see much more. We see the escalation of the wars and this huge unemployment and what is to come from the non-militarization, what we call, as I said, till you don't feel it, till you don't experience it, you don't do anything about it. The Americans thought they're so safe, nobody can touch them. But 2 weeks ago, they got touched by their own nation, by their own blood, and it brought them to their senses. They invaded palaces, they invaded the parliaments of other nations, and they killed so many. We see it in Libya, we saw it in Iraq, we saw it everywhere. And now they got invaded by their own. They got touched by the violence of their own blood. And we see the changes. We see how presidents lose their respect and their position. Never a nation has been so happy to get rid of a president or the world leader. There's a celebration, a man leaving the office. And we've seen immediate sanctions by the Chinese government and the whole of the Trump administration. This is where the change is coming. People who have felt the pain. And as we know, Biden will not go through the full cycle of the 8 terms. We will see a woman, a black woman, as the first president of the United States. And as we forecast before we see it happened, we see a woman as a vice president, the first double women, and they bring the balance.
Thank you for touching the soul of man, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for touching humanity and bringing this balance, this process to humanity. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning.
Mr. Keshe, may I refer to your mention regarding the so-called new administration in America?
Yes.
Mrs. Harris as being really extremely communist.
Yes.
Is that, in your view, a good position to be in?
You see, we have Marxists and we have communists. If you go and read about her background, her father and her mother, and how the father set up the first steps, and she comes from the same understanding. But in so many ways, communism not in the application of communism, but in understanding the ethos and work of the communism. She's not a Marxist as the basis of it. She's a communist, which means she likes, and we've seen it very rapidly, some of the first rules which passed yesterday by Biden is put in there by her. It's her decision as a vice president. She'll be one of the most active vice presidents. We have a very old president, cannot travel. Vice president will take the place. And she's groomed to become the president in office. And she will carry that. If you saw the inauguration yesterday, we see, even though we have a white president, most of the performers were black, even the day before. Bringing other races to be equal is part of bringing, if you read one of the first ones regarding the Muslims, these things will go away in a way irrespective of what we see in China. Doesn't matter what religion you have, as long as you stay within the law of the orders, the government covers you by the same. And this is, if it's not taken to the far left, but don't forget, America is a democracy, it's a good thing, because it brings the injustices of the past into some sort of a balance, and gradually it'll bring into one side to give a little bit for the other side to take. And as we heard from President Biden yesterday, some decades ago, women marched to have the vote in the United States. And then the blacks did the same for other things. And now we see a woman and a black as a vice president, as soon as the president of a nation. There are American structure needs adjustment. It's not that everything is wrong with it, but needs adjustment, and huge adjustments. And those who have abused will not give up so easy. And the only way to do it is not by riots and burning and invading the offices of the Senate or parliaments, is by elevating the soul. The new way to find peace and what we call balance. We saw, I was explaining yesterday, that Trump was trying to sign the last minute's immunity for himself and his family, that he will not be touched after he leaves office. And there was one thing would put him directly: if you do so, it means you already done criminal act. Why do you need to protect yourself? And this will come to his demise. He cut the laws to protect himself, to pardon himself and his family if done anything wrong. And the last minutes they persuade him, if you do this, it means you've done something wrong. Why do you need to protect yourself? And he didn't sign that act in, as far as we know. Then that will become the noose around his neck for what the things he's done and what is brought. We'll see it in May, April, what is expected to come to Trump's family. At least this is what our people in Pentagon and CIA tell us, what is set for him. And we'll see the same with the ex-first lady. A lot of things is going to be put back down with his children. It's involvement in a very large scale. And Harris, to become the first woman president of the United States, will change a lot of things. There will be some resistance, but it's good. Because you got to understand, America is not one nation, it is a human race. It's the only piece of land that every race on this planet has a claim to and has done something to build it. Black, white, Chinese, Indonesian, wherever, whoever you are, you have ancestry of, we have collected in one country. And this is the soul of the humanity. And once that adjustment is made, the rest will follow. There is a lot of injustices in the American structure, but when one Vietnamese has the same say as a man whose father was Dutch or was German in the United States because of the color of a body, then we'll find a balance. It's very interesting. If you watch yesterday, I just pointed it out, Biden walks with Black and East Asian bodyguards. The closest bodyguard to him looks like to be, I say, Chinese or Korean, they say this. He has crossed that border. We see Black bodyguards, we see everything else. There is going to be a backlash a little bit by the whites that so much influence of the blacks in the White House, but they got used to it when Obama was there. Now it becomes more acceptable in different ways because now she's partially Indian, of different structure. We have a Jewish husband of her who will play an influence in the whole system. One of the reasons I said before she was elected, was put in this position, because it's tradition that the Jewish lobby has a say or entrance into the White House. If Harris did not have a Jewish husband, which was set up especially for this some years ago, she would never be in there. If you look, the son-in-law of the Trump was Jewish. If you look, the lover of Clinton was Secretary of Defense of Israel. They moved through the bed into the office and they carried their influence. It's not the present, the next generation of what we call the president. It's the first time, more or less, we see a first man, Jewish, in the Oval Office. These are the things which in public you might not notice, but with it, we bring the other dimension of communist thinking, the closeness to Russia and China, understanding of the process. If you lived in London, near Archway, you will see the grave of Marx. I used to live near there. And sometimes I used to go and visit his grave. You see how people come and pay homage to this man. And you understand more of what it actually means. Marxism, Leninism, or communism, they're totally three different things. And most of the people don't understand this. Marxism is ideology. Leninism is ruling. And communism is a path to live. And once we understand this, we can easily see what is said to come. And each one uses the other ideology to achieve what will be the final goal. We have the same thing now with Scientologists and the Keshe Foundation. They were looking for fulfillment of scientific of what the promised sky said, and now they're trying to take over the Keshe Foundation in every way of deception. And you will see it. Very soon they'll come to how Scientologists try to take over the Keshe Foundation. Through backdoor, through pillow talk. This is something we'll see in the American administration, the influence of the Jewish lobby at the highest level with communism. And then with it, with what Biden says, we will see the peace process which has started. You find the communist structure in way of Leninism is totally different than what we call Marxist ideology. It's facilitated, and with the communist ideology is to bring the Marxism and communism into line. People have to become aware of this very rapidly, because it will change many lives. As I said, we got to see who will pay the first visit into the White House and where does she go the first time. Traditionally, as a colony, the American president always goes to London. This is because US is still a colony of what you call United Kingdom. And always the president pays first visits, one of his first visits, or first three always is to London to pay respect to the Queen as the boss. But what happens with your first lady, what I call first president woman, we see that to be to China or to Moscow. You have to understand the language of diplomacy. We saw the first step yesterday. Immediately as they were sworn into the office, China announced the full sanction on Trump's office. That was her wish, to cut all ties from the past. It wasn't just random that Communist state of China simultaneously, as a breaking news, put sanctions on all the Trump administration. That was a green light that the talks are, and work with China will be on a very close friendship because they understand the language. And it's the job of the Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers to bless both souls that they reach that point. We need a balance. The gap between the poor and rich, both in physicality and soul and human race, is too big. And now has to be balanced.
About the balance, I'm absolutely on your way. However, to go back to Mrs. Harris, does she really have changed so much since she was Attorney General in California? She was the one who put the most Black people into prison. She is absolutely dependent on the what Eisenhower said, the industrial military complex.
Yes, of course.
I just want to tell you that if you really listen to what certain people said yesterday, America is for the moment under military rule.
We are, of course they are. They
But
created
that
it.
means that this intronization of Mr. Biden is absolutely outside the American Constitution. That's why the military has yesterday taken over. I don't want to convince you of something.
I look at the things in the different angles of the diversion. And you see, people do a lot of things to get to a position. People do a lot of things to get to the position. And once they get to that position, they change because they have a different agenda. America is under the martial law more or less because its people have gone that way themselves. It's not only black or white or the Hispanic. In totality, none of them are happy with the situation. And what happens with a person who wears a uniform? Under that uniform is a man and he has certain beliefs and he does some ways. And her position will not change. As a communist, she will not change because you have to understand the way she was brought up is ingrained in the earth she breathes. And in so many ways, you have to do certain things to get to position. Very few, very few people come out of the dust and become a leader of a nation. The people you see as leader of a nation have been seeded from long time ago and groomed to become. Harris is not just something which is brought. Harris is financed heavily by China. Heavily, in different ways, her ideology, and where she's very far away from Leninism of Russia when you study her work. Equality, you say she put more people in prison. She has a different understanding. She looks at it, doesn't matter if you're black or white, it has to be all the way equal. You get the same wrap of it. It's not that she puts more black in. It's actually in line with the line of communism thinking, which she is. You got to look at the broader. America has brought this military control because they brought it back on other people, not themselves. Nobody allows militaries to land because you have Corona. So you keep your people busy in your country. Militaries have to be dismantled because now internally they create problems for their own nation because they got to get busy. You look at within the structure of the Keshe Foundation, we used to have very far right Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, rednecks they call them. And they came into the Keshe Foundation. We knew how to handle them. We knew how to address them. And they're still around the Keshe Foundation, but we don't allow them to influence the outcome of the work of the Keshe Foundation. We are vulnerable as anybody else. And these people, the same people you see in the Keshe Foundation, around Keshe Foundation, have taken position on the Trump side. Because they see it as their nation has been invaded by this and that. And in so many ways, we didn't see the traditional goodbye in the White House yesterday, when one president says goodbye to another president. We saw the vice president being said goodbye by the vice president. A lot has changed. And the nation has brought itself to what they did to the others, to themselves now.
You know, it is a very, very difficult situation, I think, for the whole world, as far as I can see it, from a country saying it's neutral. I mean, we all know, or not all, but some of in Switzerland know what this neutrality means. And I think you have told me how you saw Switzerland, and that's absolutely right, because there is nothing about neutrality in our country. it's money. It's money makes the world go round. And there is our problem. However, in America, I just don't see yet that this whole thing is over, because
it won't be over for a long time.
Because I mean, we can really see none of the Democrats wanted Biden. They wanted Bernie Sanders. Now, one can say whatever one wants over Sanders, but if you look, Mrs. Harris did not even receive 1% of the votes from the Democrats. However, because they didn't want Biden, Sanders, the same we had already with Clinton when Clinton was running, Sanders was again pushed aside. And that's, I think, which made finally this need to have an influence from abroad into the American voting system through the Vatican and through the City of London. And we have DC, the City of London, and the Vatican, which are sort of absolutely outside the world territories. Like we have this BIZ in Basel in Switzerland, which is extraterritorial, where the Rothschilds are saying what is done and what is not is done. And I'm just, if I read within between the lines, and if I look at the situation in Washington, the interesting thing is that, for instance, the locks for the doors in these circles of high walls around the White House, they're not towards the White House, they're outside. It's not for somebody to go in, but it's for somebody that nobody can get out. And
White House stores have many underground floors.
Of course.
Into different directions out of the White House. And by coincidence, I've been through one of them. In Washington, in White House, you can't go through front door, but there are many underground doors into the White House. So we don't look at it that way. You can go physically through, or you
if
can
you
go
just
through
look
the mind.
at the appearance, of course, these underground
Thank you very
tunnels
much.
are everywhere. Mr. Keshe, thank you for your time, and I hope to talk to
Thank
you
you very
another
much.
time.
Thank you very much indeed. People who've been to Washington, they know, and the securities, they know. The White House is like all castles, has got many ways to go into it. It's not just one way, as you see. And they build these through organizations and works over years. They said if the rats one day take over the White House, there are many holes that'll appear at the memorial in no time.
For low educated on the
Add up to 5% to 10% to the pay. Influential people and others were in the room as a dinner where they were all smoking. As you know, the Chinese smoke like chimney, and there were quite a lot of them smoking, and there was no smoke in the room. And this is the beauty of it.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you indeed. Any other question?
Maybe Azar could go ahead now.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Keshe, is not a question, is an observation. Living here in US, and the way I see it, when President Trump came to power, what has happened? He actually brought a lot of job for low-educated, underdog people, and actually gave them livelihood. What has happened with the Democratic agenda, always the policy was you give these people something like a welfare, everything else, and then you let them stay home, and that was it. So what has happened, these people really, if you look at it, even before the election, when they were doing interview, if you go to a Dunkin' Donut, mostly blue collar worker there, and then the guy was interviewing them, and they all want to vote for Trump. When you go to a fancy coffee shop, and mostly like highly educated, especially if you're in New York, you look at them, a lot of people that I know, they really were sick and tired of people, and these people are really rich people. So now what has happened, most of these 74 million people who voted for Trump, and another thing, for example, when Obama came, he brought Obamacare. Obamacare, what it brought, as an individual, you had to pay to buy insurance, and then somebody who was making, say, $1,500 a month has to buy insurance. You have to pay $500 a month for the insurance. And if you don't buy that, you get penalty by the end of the year by paying more taxes. So for the low-income family, it was really a burden. But before, you had the freedom to have insurance or not have insurance. So what Trump did, he abolished the Obamacare, and he brought a lot of stuff for the low-income people, poor people. But his international policy was ruthless. What he did with Iran, what he did with China, everything else. But for lower-income family, and actually when I meet these people who don't have money, who have nothing, I feel bad for them, because now with the Biden, actually the rich people are more happier. The question is, how can we take care of these 70-something people? Even if you look at 2 weeks ago when they attacked the whole Senate and everybody, most of them, you look at them, they're lower income people. So if we're here to bring the people to different level, 74 million people are not like 5 people. So how can we take care of these people, bring them up? Because our intention is to bring humanity to the same level, but we don't want to make richer people richer. So my question is, how with this administration, what's going to happen to that 74 people? How are we going to hear their voice? Because we can't shut their voice. We can't put them in their homes and say, okay, we have a military, you shouldn't come out. We should be able to give them jobs and everything else. How can we take care of these people?
American is not of the world. They're only 5% of the population. But in a way, what we call the power of Rothschilds and Illuminatis has given the America the status of elusive power. So the 74 million who voted was the same as this odd million voted for your ex-vice president, who was actually had more votes, but he was cheated by the Bush administration. Al Gore was elected president. This is the dilemma you have in your country. It's a dilemma within the United States. Who cheats best will most probably get something back from it. But in general, as they said before, you gotta wait your turn, 4 years or 8 years, and then you change. Generally, Democrats bring a lot of laws in, the lawmakers, and Republican go to undo what they did 4 years. So either way, they employ a lot of lawyers. We've seen it. Whatever one did, the biggest damage done to a lot of work which was done with the French, what they call Paris Accord, was with one pen undone by Trump. And now it's back on again. Who gets him? It's not just a pen. It's thousands of lawyers and bureaucracy. So, as I say, the 74 million have to wait their turn till in 4 years or 8 years, or you go and take over the Senate again and see if you can change it. Is there a possibility of the division within the American states? Maybe 10 years ago, yes, but now it's so mixed and so diverse, nobody knows what's going to happen. But the whole world is not America. America is only 5% of the world population, maybe even less. And you're talking about 1/5 of 5%. 1% of the world population does not affect the world policy as such. They just got to wait their turn. And you will see this is part of your administration, this is part of your democracy. There is a different shape of democracy. You have a monarchy democracy, where monarchy decides everything on the long term and people have a short term say by prime minister. Or you have what we call democracy, where international big people have a say on how the long term is going to be, and the governments just are there temporarily to see that happening. General policy does not change.
But Mr. Keshe, I don't think what I see, I'm not going to be surprised that a couple of states start to separate from the United States. Because
it is, what can you do? It's like England separating from Europe. It's how they organize, how they become. California is the 8th richest industry in the world. It's a nation. If you take California out of the United States, you have the 8th largest economy, or 9th largest economy in the world. And then you bring America into the 4th or the 5th level economy in the world. Would California go that way? Would another states will go? But how much interdependent is? What do you change? Just to put a new leader? But what purpose? These are the things with one planet, one nation, one race, and through the Universal Council, we have solved all these problems.
I note in
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
I note in Biden's speech that he had 2 key words that he repeated, which was soul was one of them, and unity. Yes. Unity was the other word.
It's the first time we hear so much soul coming out of White House. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it seems to come from both of them, not just from one side as a religious kind of aspect or whatever. It's a deeper kind of thing.
They listen a lot to the Keshe Foundation and know it's the time of the operation of this. Biden, like Obama, has been always one of the listeners. They've always been around because he brings a lot of things for them, how to plan their new scientific development and knowledge.
We'll have to see it. Sorry, I was just funny that we'll have to see the key words that come out in the speeches, and I'm just imagining some of the plasma technology words that might be dropped from time to time in the coming speeches.
Yeah, we say because you start a trend of understanding and you bring it. And they cannot reach the physicality of the people now. They understand the operation of the soul. They try to bring the soul into it. But they have to understand how to access that soul. And this is one of the beauties of it, as I noticed it yesterday. everything will be done through the soul and understanding of it. But how come it wasn't there in the last election, the election before, as now we teach? Biden and organization and team of Biden, like Obama, always have been, as we saw many times, listening and around the Keshe Foundation. There's a big problem. We had a talk yesterday, the day before, in respect to the Iranian government and Keshe Foundation. What is the position? How are we going to see it? They see a big problem that we explain about the soul of the man, and we explain about Nehti and Messiah. And you have to understand, if they allow access, I always said, to the Keshe Foundation, to Iran, and the Iranian listen to what it is, there is no place for the present structure of religious leadership unless religious leadership changes into a new direction of balance within the nation. It cannot do. This is one of the reasons Keshe Foundation is in this position in Iran, and the same in Italy, the same in the United States or England. Acceptance of a change will means a loss of job, as I said last time. Now they have to find an excuse to oppose, because this way they can keep to the seat of power. But we work a different way. We don't march through the gates. We don't invade the Senate. We elevate the soul, and they become a slave to it. But we do it our way, the way we know. You hear many, many soul talks in the new administration. It's not fashionable. It's the only way to access.
Marinez, I have to interrupt here because we have to end the workshop and we didn't expect this additional time here. So thank you for
Thank you
your
very much.
So that's, don't worry, it's not, it's known somehow.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you very much, knowledge seekers. I hope with today's teaching, we open another insight into the totality of the work of the foundation and the technologies and the sciences we bring in, and how we progress into the next level. Today, teaching very short, but it should have been understood that for the first time we can, in a way, understand the position of our soul, how to find it, and don't look for its space, look for its effect. You understand the work of your soul from what it does, not what you want to see. It's not a mirror for you to glaze on and see it. It's to see and watch the conduct and watch what happens and how it happens and the way it happens. And I hope with the introduction of new technologies, we bring the change to bring comfort, as we've done with the, what we call One Cup, One Life, to the extension of bringing more peace and balance into the life of many of those, and to the soul of many men and the creatures of Creator. Thank you very much for today, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for
Mamy koniec tłumaczenia. Tak więc zapraszam, jakby ktoś chciał coś dodać, zabrać głos, to zapraszam. Nie mamy pytań, nie ma odpowiedzi, tak więc na dzisiaj skończymy. Były 436 warsztaty poszukiwaczy wiedzy w języku polskim w niedzieli 31 stycznia 2021 roku. Tak więc zapraszam na kolejne spotkanie. Miłej nocy i do usłyszenia.
Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami, a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy. I musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom, to jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz. Że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej. By być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.